Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Rhyme of the Times for the week ending 18th of March 2023. Putin indicted, the French incited by a bill expedited, and the streets are ignited. Yeoh delighted, AUKUS foresighted. Over the weekend, Silicon Valley Bank crashed. Was 2008 about to be rehashed? There was a little nervousness indeed, until all deposits were guaranteed. The organisers of Sunday's Oscars were relieved when the evening's last prize had been received. The ceremony had made it all the way through without the drama of 2022. This year there was no will to pull any stunts, as the film Everything Everywhere All at Once, with 7 awards, was the star of the show. And the star of the show's star was Michelle Yeoh. As Best Actress, she was the first ever from Asia, while Whale gave the male prize to Brendan Fraser. Moving from the big screen to the TV screen, Gary Lineker at the weekend had caused a scene, but by the time that Monday had ended, the Match of the Day host was no longer suspended. The former England striker and Tory disliker didn't mean to turn his defenders into strikers, but his strike for free speech had struck a chord, and his view on small boats many applaud. Some media hacks, though, and Conservative MPs were less impressed that the Beeb caved in with such ease. From Gary, who is a big hitter on Twitter, to Gary the Twitter, former 70s big hitter, Gary Glitter went from music charts into police files as one of the world's most notable paedophiles. After just 38 days since his prison release, he found himself back in the care of the police. Poor Gad, who used the glam rock glitter moniker, had his movements being closely monitored. So when he thought accessing the dark web was okay, the authorities swooped like birds of prey. The less cynical say it's a sign of phobia. A fear of China, plain sinophobia. To ban TikTok from every government device, fearing it'll give intel to Chinese spies. On Thursday, the government agreed to coalesce with much of Europe, Canada and the US and have the Chinese-owned video sharing app banned. In America, there's a threat the ban could expand. And on Monday, Australia, Britain and the US met. AUKUS met AUKUS. AUKUS thinks China's a threat. Rishi met his counterparts Albanese and Biden in San Diego on Monday so they could decide on their response to China's claim to the South China Sea. Nuclear subs will soon supplement diplomacy. The spring budget was intended to increase workers, to encourage work and decrease the shirkers, and to dampen inflation. That was the intent. Overall, though, it amounted to a non-event. As Jeremy Hunt prepared for his big budget day, the biggest strike of the winter was well underway. The next day, the government seemed to grasp the nettle. The NHS dispute was seemingly settled. All the unions, bar Unite, had recommended that their members accept and strikes are ended. But many felt the unions should have shown more steel. A lump sum and 5% seemed like a government steal. A bit more for others and some better conditions, but it might not be enough to swing the decision. So when the ballot is counted and all said and done, the government and unions may be back to square one. Meanwhile, we have to surely spare a thought for all those that are waiting for a passport. If it hasn't been delivered by April the 3rd, hopes of flying away may be for the birds. The call from passport office workers this week was a 5-week strike to get the pay rise they seek. On Monday, the illegal migrants bill was debated. The second reading had the Commons quite aerated. Home Secretary Braverman cajoled and implored, but even she admitted it might break the law. Later in the week, did Mr. Raab go too far when he said Britain may have to leave the ECHR? And a Labour amendment to stop stopping small boats was sunk in Parliament by 63 votes. Meanwhile, in France, Macron also got his way, and the opposition didn't even have a say. The French president's constitutional shimmy pushed through pension reforms that were far from a gimme. The pension age pushed up 2 years to 64, and now the whole country seems to be in a war. The pension reform had turned the cities to flames, now compounded by Macron's political games. Putin's war crimes are well known and abhorrent, but there was still surprise at his arrest warrant, issued on 17th of March 2023 by the International Criminal Court, the ICC. The crime they have picked on this occasion is Ukrainian children's forced deportation. This is probably one of the most easily proved, with evidence of children forcibly removed, ripped from their families, surreptitiously ushered across the border to a new life in Russia. The ICC also have in their sights the Russian Commissioner for Children's Rights. They want to charge Maria Lvova-Belova for committing children's wrongs over and over. Perhaps Putin's attention had Donald Trump peaked, because the next day on social media he did speak of his own imminent arrest early next week.